Hey guys, back in 2012, Nokia released the most capable camera phone to date, the Nokia 808 PureView, and today I've managed to obtain a specimen for us to take a look at. So without further ado, let's get to it. The Nokia 808 PureView was the last flagship phone running Nokia's dated, even for the time, Symbian OS. This meant that right out of the gate, the software just could not compete with that of phones like the iPhone 5, but the hardware made up greatly for this shortcoming. The phone is built out of Nokia's super durable white polycarbonate that holds up fantastically well to abuse. This was the same material they used in all of their later Windows phones like the Lumia 920 and 1020. Now this is the part where I usually tell you what SoC it's running, but this phone doesn't use a system on a chip. Instead, we've got a 1.3 GHz single-core ARM11 CPU made by Texas Instruments, a dedicated Broadcom BCM2763 GPU, and 512 MB of RAM. Zeiss all of this is a removable 1400 mAh battery. And last but definitely not least, we've got the 41 megapixel Carl Zeiss camera that we'll get to more in a second. The display is a 640 by 360 OLED panel that has great, accurate colors and an always-on display feature that Nokia calls Screensaver. You can even download custom screensavers from the internet. To wake the phone, just hit the power slider on the side. Now, as I mentioned before, this runs Symbian Belle Feature Pack 2. Unfortunately, Symbian just hasn't really aged well. It's stable enough, and it does what it needs to, but it's nowhere near as sleek as even iOS 4, which came out several years before this phone. It just feels kind of clunky. I do appreciate the heavy use of black elements in the UI to help with the battery life, though. Almost any app for any online service like Spotify or Skype has long since stopped working, so you're basically going to be limited to more offline tasks. Video playback is also a very strong point thanks to that beautiful OLED display. It really is a shame that there's no YouTube client for Symbian anymore. Music is also a really strong point thanks to the dedicated DAC. Music sounds crisp and clear, and it gets plenty loud enough to even drive some higher impedance headphones. Since this was the most powerful Symbian phone ever made, I expected gaming to be another strong point. But unfortunately, I couldn't even get Asphalt 6 to actually play a game without crashing. Angry Birds Seasoned worked well though, and it never dropped a frame even once. Same goes with Fruit Ninja here. That LED screen makes slicing fruit even juicier. Nothing was very easy for me to find in Symbian. I actually had to Google how to turn the phone off after trying to figure it out for almost 15 minutes. It turns out you press the hang up the call button while on the home screen. Something I really like, but accidentally discovered, is that holding the power slider on the side toggles the flashlight on and off. And we can't really go any further without discussing the camera. I'm going to do a dedicated camera review in a few weeks, so stay tuned for that. But for now, just know that it's as amazing as you've heard, and it still beats almost every phone today. The camera software is actually really nice, and it includes things like controls for contrast, sharpness, and it lets you make custom presets. The only thing I was kind of surprised to learn that it actually can't do was shoot raw DNGs, but the JPEGs recorded in superfine mode aren't compressed a whole lot, so that kind of helps make up for it. Taking a look at some samples here, these were all edited in Adobe Lightroom, and they look fantastic. Detail and dynamic range here are almost unheard of for a smartphone. I've actually started carrying this phone around with my daily driver, the Sony Xperia. I just send the pictures over Bluetooth to the Sony phone, where I can fire up the free Lightroom mobile app and edit them to my heart's content. So at the end of the day, the Nokia 808 makes a great camera, MP3 player, and a Fruit Ninja enabler. But if you need to do anything beyond those tasks, you're really going to be better off with a modern phone. That said, this phone will always be remembered from a historic standpoint, as the last Nokia phone before Windows Phone took over completely, and as the camera phone to beat for almost 7 years straight. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave me a comment letting me know what you thought. Don't forget to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you'd like to see what I make next. I'll see you guys next time.